Welcome to Podtiez. It's your boy Taylor.
And it's your host JB here.
And we got Mckenna with us today.
Welcome,
welcome to the show. Cheers to that.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
Of course.
Almost forgot to drink.
You all like tap the table after.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's a
Because when
must.
people don't, I'm like,
Yeah,
It's
right?
like, yo, that's bad luck.
It's funny, I even got my mom tapping the table after
Right?
she takes
Everybody
a
does
shot.
it now.
you're
Yeah.
actually
people-
supposed to like look in the eyes.
You have to,
because then it breaks the trust, right?
Facts.
But yeah, let's get into it.
So how are you doing today?
I'm good.
You good?
You're good.
Tired.
Yeah.
but I'm
Tired?
Yeah.
You don't look tired.
It's time to wake up.
Don't worry, we're gonna wake her up with our
Yeah.
questions today, so
Yeah.
should be good to go.
I'm awake now.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you up to? What have you been up to these
What am I up
days?
to? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. A whole lot, honestly.
Whole lot, yeah.
Pretty much just like working full time. That's the
Okay.
main thing. But then like still doing like photography,
Mhm.
like
Working
freelance
full
marketing.
time.
I work at a fintech called Neo Financial.
Okay, I think I heard of it.
Yeah, so I do like social
I seen them
media
in Chinook
marketing.
today.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna see you there, to be honest, but you weren't there.
The cool like neon booths and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I do that like 60 hours of my week,
Okay.
and then things like yesterday with those parties and like event
Parties, yeah.
photography,
Mhm.
portraits, stuff.
Okay, cool.
Super dope.
That's awesome. Would you say like so photography is more like your passion and stuff like that, or?
I think so. Like I
Yeah.
think that's always gonna be like
Mhm.
my like home base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm kind of doubting myself, I always come back to it because it's just like comfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of branching out into other things now, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
Like I started with like videography, or even starting like a YouTube channel and like different things, and just experimenting to see like, am I really passionate about photography and photography only, or is this something way bigger?
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta test the waters.
Yeah.
You gotta see what you like, because how are you gonna know what you like or don't like unless you try it, right?
100%.
Mhm.
And I think people think photography is also just like pictures, but it's
Mhm.
not. Like
No.
It's more-
even
more to it.
even that like video shoot with Ben Ugly, like
Mhm.
that wasn't just a photo shoot.
Yeah.
That was like a whole experience, and I think that people don't see those experiences. They just see the finished product. But like, I think now I want to get into showing people the actual like
Yeah, the
complete
process of
experience.
it all, right? Yeah, I know. I wish we like were vlogging that day, cause yeah, there's so much going on throughout that
We
day.
started
like,
off vlogging.
Yeah.
You vlogged the first like 30 minutes of the day.
mhm.
I actually have a lot of footage from that still.
Oh, do you
actually. I
really?
just
You just
don't think
sitting
I
on
ever.
it.
Yeah, I
Yo, we
think
gotta reach into the archives for
maybe
those.
I'll
Actually.
launch it next week. Maybe.
Yeah, that was such a wild time because like we had no idea what we were getting into at all when we showed up. Like we had no idea.
It was literally pretty much all of our first times hanging out for the
Yeah,
first
that
time.
too. Yeah.
I just met Ben. Like, so how did that happen? He made a post on Instagram or a story, and I seen it because I don't even know why I was following, but I was. And then it just said, "Hey, anybody want to come up to my music video? Just holla at me." And I didn't even know this guy, but I'm a videographer here. I'm trying to put my foot in the door. So I'm like, "Yo," like I hit him up. I'm like, "Yo, could we pull up?" Yada yada. And then he's like, "Yeah, man." He was super excited to have me there. So then that's when I told you to pull up and told Taylor to pull up. And then it's funny because I just had met my boy TJ, and I met him the weekend before. And then we pull up there, and then all of a sudden I figure out that he's the one that's shooting the entire video. So like I feel like the stars just aligned. Everybody was actually supposed to meet up for that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was just a crazy event. Like a bunch of us that he doesn't even know pull up, and we get a lot of shit done, right? So
I didn't even know any of you.
I
Like
know.
I barely knew you.
yeah,
So like I literally pulled up and I'm like, I'm going to the middle of nowhere with a bunch of strangers.
yeah.
What could go wrong?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
but, like,
Exactly.
And we were in the middle of nowhere.
And we had no
like,
idea.
butt-fuck nowhere.
Yeah. We just kept driving and driving and driving and driving.
Yo, are we there yet? Like, where are we
We're
going,
like in the
dog?
bush and I'm
Yeah.
like, where is
Yeah.
this
I know,
place? And then
right?
it's like a motocross track
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
the garage with like the beds on the ceiling and the
Yeah,
trampoline and it's
yeah.
like a
That little
whole
event
scene
room that they had was actually pretty dope.
Yeah, that was
though.
wild.
with the segways
Yeah.
and like the swing.
They had that rope that went to the ceiling. It was like a 50-foot ceiling. I was trying to
Yeah.
climb that shit. And I actually
It
did.
was just a
but I
big
was
old
fucked
like
up.
adult playground. It was wild. It was so
Yeah.
cool to like see that and be a part of that too, because like it was like something out of a movie. Really, like all the toys, any toy you could think about, it was there.
It was
like,
there.
it was nuts.
The whole day I'm like, this is not real.
Yeah, I know, right?
So what's your final outcome of that experience? Did you enjoy it? How you feel?
To this day, like, I
Yeah.
still say that was probably, like, one of the best days of my life. Like, we may have been hungry. We may have been
Hungry,
Very
thirsty, yo.
dehydrated.
begging people for like food too, like begging them for like food or like alcohol or like even a glass of water.
We were not prepared. I thought there was gonna be shit there for us, but
Yeah.
anyways,
No,
it'd
it's
be
a
like
great
that
time.
sometimes.
It does, yeah.
No, to this day, like, I still say that's probably one of the best days of my
Mhm.
life because, like, I literally pulled up with all of you, had no idea
Yeah.
who you were, but I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, sign me up. And it ended up being, like, so dope and, like you said,
Yeah.
like, straight out of a movie.
Mhm.
And, like, the pictures, like, I still look at them and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this is
Crazy
memories.
pictures,
yeah.
And, like, even to see, like, Bengon get nominated for, like, what is it, Best Independent Music Video? Like,
yeah.
that's sick. And
Or
knowing that, like,
something
I
like
was
that,
there and, like,
Yeah.
I was a part of that.
We were
like,
a part of that.
Yeah, straight up.
100%. And I think it, like, just, like, that we all have that shared
Yeah,
memory.
experience. Yeah, exactly, right. And I think that's like the awesome thing about like videography and like photography is like all these different experiences you get to experience too, right? Like
Right,
it
it's
takes
actually
you out
crazy.
your like comfort zone and puts you in
Yeah.
situations you would never be in. You meet people you'd never usually meet, and then by the end of it, like they're usually like some of your like closest friends or like people you talk to this day,
Mhm.
right? Like and it's so cool. in that
Honestly,
sense.
this industry, what I realized is it brings a lot of different people together, and like
Yeah.
it brings us back to this, the Podtiez, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring a lot of people together in different genres, and we all work together, right? So
For real.
it's
I'm
pretty
like,
dope.
I can't think of any other industry where
Mhm.
you could just show up randomly somewhere and it go well.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, like, photography, videography, just being an artist in general, like, it's like there's beauty in, like, the chaos and, like, unpredictability.
Oh,
because you never know
exactly.
what's gonna happen, but everybody's just, like, so creative and so, like,
Mhm.
out there that it's bound to turn out well.
Right.
And, yeah, artists are crazy people, but I think when we, like, link up, it's
Yeah.
always memorable.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So you being a photographer, what do you think some essential characteristics of being a photographer are?
Okay, so I feel like this one is easy to answer, but the
Okay.
funny thing is I don't think I possess those characteristics.
Doesn't matter. You can work on it always, right?
That's the thing. I think it depends what kind of photography you're gonna do first of
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
Like if you're doing product photography, you don't have to be good at talking to people.
Yeah.
Like that's just you doing it, right?
Unless you're
Versus-
trying to get new clients.
But like even then you still have that like those channels of communication. Like maybe you're more comfortable over email or text than you are
True.
like in person. Versus
True.
like when you're a portrait photographer or an event photographer, and that's mainly what I do, I have to talk to people. And the funny thing is like people don't believe me when I say this, but I'm actually like very shy. Like I get very nervous. Like I get
Shy.
so anxious. Every single event I go to, the whole time I'm getting ready, I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's gonna be a lot of people that I don't know. I don't know how to talk to people, and I like panic. And then I get there, and once I kind of warm up, that's when things
Yeah.
get better.
Mhm.
So I think, like I said, it really just depends. Like, if you're gonna be a portrait photographer, I don't think you necessarily have to be good at talking to people, or you have to be like comfortable, but you have to have tricks that you go to kind of make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, and like make those moments that you capture, right? Because
100%.
like if you're kind of just hiding in the back, you're never gonna capture those moments that they
100%.
want, right?
So I think like to answer your question, to be a good photographer, I think the first thing you have to just be passionate. You have to be motivated. You have to be like interested in what you're doing. Because if you're not, it's gonna show. It's gonna
for
show
sure.
in the finished product. It's gonna show in the experience. Like if you're not in it, if your heart's not in it. And I think the second thing is you have to be teachable and willing to learn. And that's where that like sociable aspect comes in. Like I'm super nervous, but like I watch YouTube videos of people that do event photography and I see what they do and I learn like tricks that they have to get people laughing in pictures and get
Mhm.
people in pictures and talk to people. So like you just have to
Yeah, kind of bring it out of people, right? And like also put
Exactly.
yourself in uncomfortable situations and kind of just thrive in those situations too.
Honestly, I
Like
think
the
it's
best
pretty
way to-
funny that you say that you're shy, because we did a event together at that wedding, and me seeing the work that you're doing, it did not look like you're a shy person. Like people are coming up to you asking you to take pictures, and like you're just ready to go. So I'm like, I'm just surprised that you're telling me that you're shy.
the one thing people say like when I do say that they're like, oh well you don't show it. And
Yeah.
like I take that as like I wear it well because like
Mhm.
if y'all could hear my thoughts, like the whole time I'm sitting there like, what if I mess it up? Like what if I what if it doesn't come out well? Like,
Yeah.
I get very nervous, especially when I first start shooting, that, like, all the pictures are gonna be blurry and they're not gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of have to trust yourself after.
It's a
but
part of the journey.
Yeah,
Some pictures are going to be blurry. Some pictures are going to be shit. Some events are going to be shit, and it's not going to turn out well. But that's just that's the process.
Yeah,
right?
just being able to work with what you got, right, and just making the best of it. So
Yeah.
you can't be
gotta just
afraid
keep
to
just
pushing.
adapt. It's always adapting, right? Always, because like things are always gonna go wrong no matter what you do, right? Like
Yeah.
you're gonna show up, you're gonna plan everything to a T, but there's always gonna be that one thing that's just gonna like take whatever you have planned and just like throw it out the window,
Throw it out.
and then you just gotta adapt and keep moving forward.
You got to be ready to
Yeah.
adapt to all of those things, right?
You can't be afraid of failure.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
That's
like,
the biggest
speaking on
thing.
that topic, like, what do you think are some things that you can use to develop your skills to be better, to be a better photographer? Do you have anything that you use in specific, or?
Specifically, not really. Like, I think I'm kind of lucky in
Mhm.
terms of like my photography experience, because when I started, it was just like go, go, go. Like, it wasn't anybody telling me to, like, I guess there's people encouraging me, but in my head I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing this. And then over time I just saw myself getting better, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, sick. Like, that's all I was doing, so I'll
So
just keep it.
experience is what helped you develop your skills.
100%, and honestly, like, I have a degree from YouTube University.
Jeez!
Shout
Okay,
out
okay.
YouTube. Shout out YouTube. I like that YouTube University.
I found one YouTuber that I like really vibe with. I vibed with his
Okay.
work. Like, we've even like briefly talked on Instagram too, and like to see him shoot with really, really big people now, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm literally learning from this guy, and that was kind of how I got more comfortable with photography. I bought his presets and like really took what he said and like deeped it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that really worked for me, was finding people that I think I really connected with, even if I didn't know them, and connected with how they work, and then I was able to take some of the things that they use. So my biggest thing is I just learn from other people. Like, even when I'm shooting with like TJ, or when I'm shooting with you, or like you, like I see what you do, and I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try this.
Yeah.
So
how can you spin it in your way?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the biggest thing about being a creative. It's like, at the end of the day, everything's been done. So it's like, how can I take the idea that you just came up with and then come up with my own little spin off of it to make it mine, right?
Yeah, you can get so much like inspiration just from like watching other people's work, right? Like watch them and like, oh, like you take your own piece of like everything from everything you see, right? So
And like you
Yeah.
said, like, nothing's original.
Yeah.
Nothing you ever do will ever be original. And I really hope people know that,
Yeah.
that they
It's
might
been
come up
done.
with this amazing idea, and like somebody somewhere already
It's
did
been
it.
done.
oh, for sure.
But like, I think the amazing thing about like art, whether it's videography, photography,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's been done before. Anytime two people connect to make art, it's automatically unique in that way that like, you can't recreate that specific moment, you can't recreate that specific picture, but you can like replicate it in a way,
Yeah.
but it's never gonna be the same. So like, I guess like the biggest comparison is like an NFT. Like, there's nothing like it, but like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
art, you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, that is still unique to you.
Exactly.
No,
I agree.
that's the awesome thing about it too, yeah.
Yeah.
So like also you do a little bit of modeling as well, right? So like what would your pros and cons be, like being in front of the camera compared to like being behind the camera?
It's so funny, because like
Yeah.
when I started like modeling, quote unquote, like I don't even like, I say it, but I don't necessarily still believe it, but then when I think about it, I'm like, I guess I do model. But like when I first started, it was so bad. Like I was so uncomfortable, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I realized it's a lot easier to be behind the camera. Like, you're not really thinking of it. Like, people are
Preach.
trusting you. Like,
Preach.
that's the thing. Like, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, they know that I'm good at what I do. I don't have to, like, look a certain way. Like, you know, when you're in, like, those, like, photographer poses. It's
Yeah,
just, it
no.
comes natural. It's like muscle memory. And I
Yeah.
think, like, when you're on the other side, I think the biggest thing is control. When you're the one with the camera in your hands, like, you're in control. You
You're
know what's
controlling the
happening.
outcome at
Yeah,
that point.
exactly.
And when you're on the other side of it, you have no control. So you're like, okay, I hope I look good. I think this is a good angle, but I'm not gonna know until I see it. So it's like, it's a little
Yeah.
difficult that way, but I've kind of learned to just be comfortable with it. And even if you don't like all the pictures that come back, you'll usually like one, and that's
Yeah.
good enough.
That's good enough.
That's
Right,
so true.
like-
That's so
It's
true.
funny that you say that, because so me and Taylor, you already know, like, I'm always behind the camera.
Yeah.
Always. I think I've been in front of the camera like 3 times in my fucking life. But anyways, So me and Taylor, we had a photo shoot the other day.
Other night.
And boy, oh boy, can I tell you that photo shoot?
I will be releasing the
so
photos
Taylor was,
on my Instagram.
No, we can't release those. We can't release those. But yo, I won't even lie to you. I was the most uncomfortable person that, like, it was crazy uncomfortable.
Every time
but
I take
Taylor
a picture of you?
was my hype man. This guy's like, yo, like, you look fucking sick. Like, this
you did look sick, bro.
These are the craziest photos. My God. And I'm just like I'm looking at some of the footage. Yeah, sure, one of them. But I'm just looking at the footage. And I'm just like, yo, I don't know if I like this, but I don't know if I'm just being judgmental on myself, because like he's showing me something that says that's sick.
I saw this
on TJ's.
Yeah. Like,
I hope nobody else sees that shit.
No, it was sick.
It was.
And I think that's part of it is like just getting comfortable, but a lot of it is your setting.
Yeah.
Like I worked with photographers and it's show me what I need to do better as a photographer.
To make people feel comfortable,
100%.
Yeah, that's also your job.
I know what I need, right? Mm-hmm. So I've even kind of thought about it in my head. I'm like, okay, maybe before I shoot with new people, maybe we should like go for brunch or go for drinks like a little bit before, so that we already have that connection made. Because when you're trying to make the connection at the shoot, it's still very like forced and awkward.
Because it is like a kind of intimate thing at the same time, right? Like you're being so like connected, vulnerable too. You're getting someone to like do like these like weird poses sometimes, like depending on what you want to do, right? But like
vulnerable is the right word for my shoot.
I think any shoot, like I think any model will say this, that like anytime they're in front of the camera, you're at your most vulnerable because all of your insecurities are on display. Like I don't think I'm really thinking about my insecurities, but like I know they're there. But like the other person doesn't know them.
Yeah.
It's all in your head, and like I think
what you just said there is the most important thing though, is because everybody judges themselves so hard to a point where they don't want to put something out, for example. But at the end of the day, the market is the market. There could be a photo or a video or whatever it may be that you don't like, and then you put it out and the entire world loves it.
Oh, I did that like last week.
That's what I mean. So like it's easier said than done. Like I'm guilty for it too. Like I'll see pictures of myself, I'm like, nah, I don't like that shit.
That's the world. That's like social media. Nobody's putting pictures of themselves that they don't like.
No,
everybody's putting their best
like
picture. And like I know I did a shoot recently, and there's one picture I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I like how I look in this. But I like the top half, so I was like, okay, like
let me crop that.
Maybe I thought about it, and I was like, should I just crop it? And then I was like, you know what? That's me. Like that's literally me in my raw form. Like I look like that, and why would I feel ashamed of hiding that? So I posted it, and everybody reposted the picture. They're like, you look so good, and I'm like, this is literally just like me against myself.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important topic. How can we create that conversation where we teach people to love themselves and be comfortable in their own skin? You know what I mean?
I think it's just all like, because even watching this podcast, like I'll be watching like our like first episode.
Bro,
just
people
like,
don't even know how many episodes. We
Yeah,
did
me
like
too.
5 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
We're
This
all
guy's like, yo, that was actually really good. And I'm like, yo, I don't like what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, my hair looks stupid there. This, that. There's always an excuse. Yeah. And then finally, me and this guy just came to a conclusion. We're like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's record this next episode, regardless of how it is. We're gonna kill it regardless, and we're gonna get better. We're just gonna put it out there. And we're gonna let other people judge.
And you're always gonna critique yourself so more harshly than like anyone else is. Like even with that photo shoot we did the other night, I was like, yo, this is the craziest photo shoot I've
and then there's
ever seen.
And then there's me, I'm like, yo, this is shit.
Yeah.
Delete that.
Have you ever like done a shoot or like filmed something or like produced something and then you hate it in that moment, and then 6 months goes by and you look back at it, and I always say like when I hit that moment, sometimes you have to let it age. Somebody actually told me that one day, because I had pictures I was just sitting on, and he told me, he's like, yeah, sometimes you just have to let them age.
That's true. That's very true. I like that.
That's true. Nothing changes about the picture, but your mindset changes.
Yeah, so true.
The photos are like fine wine. Huh?
Yeah.
Kinda
get better with time.
But no, like learning to be like unapologetically you is probably the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Oh yeah, I've read like a million books on it, and I still can't like apply it to real life.
This is where I think like I was kind of lucky in like this photography journey and this modeling journey, because like I always say I'm afraid of failure, but I've never had somebody like come to me and be like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like I've had people obviously not happy. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I've never had people come to me and be like, and like say stuff like that, but like I've had people say, hey, I don't know if I really like this, and like it's never a good feeling, but like because especially early on I never had people like telling me that my shit sucked or anything like that. Like
you're accustomed to hearing all the good.
Yeah, but
which
I also,
makes you susceptible to the bad news, right?
100%. But I also still knew that like I obviously had haters. Like I obviously had people that didn't think what I was doing was good. But like
if you don't have haters, are you doing it right?
Exactly.
Haters are the motivators.
I think like that like helped me because also I was critiquing myself, but I don't know, naturally I just always wanted to like put myself out there. Like whenever I would take this really sick picture, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post it, and I wouldn't really think about it until like later on. So like sometimes I'll go back and delete pictures, but like I'm very impulsive in that way. Where when I do something and I really like it, like I'm very passionate in the moment, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post it now, like da 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 da. And then later on I stop and I think about it and I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's not always a good thing. Like there's TikToks that you make and you're like, ooh, this is bad, let me delete this. But I think that's what helped me get to where I am, is because sometimes you just have to do it. I think that's the biggest thing as a photographer. For anybody looking to get better, for anybody who just wants to follow their passion, like the only thing you should be doing is just that, like take a step and then take another one. And don't think about it too much, like literally just do it. And if you don't like it after, the delete button exists. Like,
Exactly.
You can act like it didn't happen.
I think it's important to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and being comfortable with like looking like a fool, because like you'll never get anywhere without like, if you always like want to be the perfect or always gonna think you're gonna be perfect right away, right? Like you gotta be able to like look like a fool right at first, like right away, right? So
not me, I never look like a fool.
Nobody's perfect. You ever look back at like your old, like your first pictures? And
Never. Those stay in the archives. It's in the archives for a reason.
I do it because like it honestly makes me feel really good about myself. Like when I see a really trash picture I took 3 years ago, I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like I can't believe I was hyping it up the way that I was.
Yeah.
But like
It's progress.
now I'm like, but when you compare it to something I did yesterday, this is 10 times better. So it's like, I always say like, when in doubt, like go back to what you know, go back to like your roots, go back to that base. And for me, I'm like, okay, if I don't know how to edit a picture, how did I edit a picture a year ago? Let me start there and then build off of that. Like always stay in touch to your starting point.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but
Stick to
I'm
your roots.
Yeah.
I do that with
consideration.
videos, pictures, anything I do. If I'm ever like struggling, like when you hit a creative block,
Yeah.
have you ever like had a bunch of pictures and you're just sitting on them because every time you edit it, you're like, I
I
hate
do
this.
that every day. Yeah.
Yeah. My go-to is I'm like, okay, well let me go back to what I know for sure.
Yeah.
Because if I feel like I'm dealing with uncertainty, like that's literally the only thing you can do.
Yeah, so true.
And then I don't know. I seen this quote the other day about failure. I don't want to butcher it, but I'm gonna say it anyways. It's failure is a byproduct of being successful.
That's so true.
And I took that and I said it a couple times in my head, and I'm like, yo, that's so true. It's like all the failures that you go through are what build you to get to that successful point. Because tell me one person that's gone through life and got every single thing right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has their failures. It's just
lessons.
Yeah, it's just how you react to those.
I think failure also like really builds your shell a little
Yeah,
bit,
your
because
character, for
every failure, especially as you get better and as you get bigger, the failures start to hurt a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true.
Like whenever I would mess up a photo shoot before, I was like, okay, like that sucks. But now when I mess up a photo shoot, like I'm really down bad about it. But once you come out of it, you're just that much better. And I think that's what people don't realize is like when they're afraid to fail, is I'm like, failure literally makes you just that much better.
Oh, 100%.
I agree.
100%. Even with this podcast, like, yeah, just like we said, like, we shot how many, like, first episodes before we got to the final one, but then even the final one, I'm just like,
The final one we hated.
I know.
But then we got to the point where like, fuck it.
Yeah.
We gotta just put this shit out.
Put it out there.
And the only way we're gonna get better is not by repeating to do the same thing over and over, but like trying to level up. You know what I mean?
It was more for me because we did have like such like so much support that I didn't want to let like our supporters let people down. But like at the end of the day, like
But
we're all gonna get better,
Good thing
right?
and a bad
It's
thing.
a good
Because
thing.
you're like, I don't want to depend on other people to validate
Yeah.
what I'm doing, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like you almost feel like you owe it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I agree, we definitely owe it to them, but at the same time, I feel like we're creating this for ourselves.
But
Oh,
you,
for
you
sure.
should put something out that you feel proud of. Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing for sure though, is like I'm never gonna post something that I'm not proud of. And I think that's what everybody should do, is like even if you're not proud of what it is, are you proud that you did it? Are you proud of the experience? Like, if you're proud of any part about it, let people know.
That's the green light.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just like, it's like more of just like a showing of like all the work we put in to like actually get it out there. So
Yeah.
that was good.
So what do you think the most rewarding part of being a photographer is?
I think like, okay, I don't want to say like I base my like self-worth on like validation, because when I put something out there, it's not for people to tell me that it's like really dope and it really like messed with my art or anything like that. But I've had people like send me messages, like I always screenshot whenever somebody sends me like a compliment, and I go back to it when I'm feeling really down.
Yeah.
And it's like people telling me, they're like, oh, I see you doing really big things, and oh, this is really sick, I love what you did. And then like that is kind of like what keeps me going, because usually when I get those messages, I'm usually at my lowest. Like I'm usually really doubting myself and I'm hating what I'm doing and I'm not feeling super confident, and then somebody will send me a message and completely just remind me why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, get the ball rolling again, kind of thing. Yeah.
And I guess like in my head, I keep going back to the part that I'm like, this isn't something small. Like nothing I ever do will ever be small. And when I put something out there, it doesn't matter if anybody cares, it doesn't matter if anybody likes it, but like I know that I'm talented and I'm putting it out there because I am, and like that to me is all I need.
Yeah, it's kind of just like show the growth that you've overcome over time, right? Just like every project you put out is kind of just like a symbol of that, right? Like
And I think like people also don't, I think people know their version of me, but people also don't know a lot about me and like my life and my struggles and like stuff like that. So to see people supporting me without knowing any of that is really sick. And like I know when people hate, it also feels good because I'm like, okay, you're hating the version of me that you know, but you still don't know any of that. So it's a nice.
And they're also like paying attention to what you're doing as well. Right?
Do you think people that are hating on you are actually hating on you because they just generally don't like you, or do you think they're hating because they're just in a spot where they're hurting?
I always say this.
I've been thinking about this for a while now.
Every single time my friends call me and they're like, somebody's like hating on them or they're going through something, I've said this about relationships, I say this about friendships, I say this about, you know, let's say like you go a week without talking to each other and you call him and he doesn't answer and you're hurt and you're like, yo, like why are you not answering? But like when I think about that, I've always said this, nothing anybody does is about you. Like whatever he does has nothing to do with you. Everybody's living their lives for themselves. So like when people hate, I'm like, they're hating because of like themselves and what they're going through. It has like them hating on me. It's like a projection
of themselves.
What they're going through.
It has nothing to do with me. No. So why would I be upset at somebody hating on me when they don't know me?
Yeah.
Like it's something that has to do with them. So I'm not gonna take it personally.
Yeah, I love that answer because that's exactly how I pretty much go through life. It's like I gotta do me at the end of the day. I gotta love who I am. I gotta love what I do, and all the outside noise is irrelevant to me, whether it's good or bad. And like going back to what I said earlier, it's like I honestly don't even take in all the good compliments as much as, you know, some people do, because the more that I accept all of these good compliments is the more that I'm gonna accept all the bad compliments. And once I accept those bad compliments, then I'm just gonna spiral into a negative situation at that point, right? So I kind of just keep everything neutral, and good or bad, it's all the same to me.
And honestly, like no amount of hate can take away your talent or your skill. Like people can hate
the truth
all they want, but like it doesn't make you any less talented. It doesn't make it any less worth it. So
yeah, I think a lot of it sometimes stems from like people wishing that they were doing what you're doing too, right? You know, like
jealousy and envy are crazy.
So it's just part of growing, just being able to take that and just kind of throw it over the shoulder a little bit.
I feel like there's probably a lot of people in this world that like hate me or like don't like me, but
Does that bother you?
Not really, because I think I live my life with like blinders on. Like I could not
Blocking out
tell
the
you.
haters all the time.
I have a very short list of people that I know for a fact don't like me.
Do you write them down in a book somewhere?
Not really.
Is it on your hands? So
usually I don't like them either, so it's like
okay.
okay, like I'm just not gonna associate with you.
Yeah.
But like there's probably 100 more people that don't like me, but I'll never know because I just don't pay attention. I'm usually very in my zone and I'm focused so much on what I'm doing that I'm not paying attention to what other people are saying or doing. So like, yeah,
I feel
If
like
you
stay in
hate
your
me-
lane. Just
Yeah,
like
facts.
focus on you.
If
I
you
feel-
hate me, I don't know.
I feel like the fact that you worrying about what other people think about you is all it's doing is taking away from you progressing on doing what you want to do.
It's holding you back.
It's holding you back. What's the point of doing that, right?
Why are you living
just
your life
hurting
for
yourself.
other people if
Yeah.
they're not living their life for you?
Exactly.
Yeah, have that much control over your own life. Like, I got so many other problems going on. I don't need to worry about like other people, right? Like,
There's so much more that you could be worrying about than me.
get your bread up.
Yo, at the end of the day, yo, y'all keep worrying about me, cause that don't bother me, yo. That means y'all watching my shit.
You're a fan. If
Don't
you
watch
hate
me
me,
watch TV or podcast.
if you hate me, but you know everything I'm doing and every move I'm making, you're not a hater. You're a fan. That's all I know.
Preach.
Preach. That's like
Preach.
a,
Because that's an
cheers
extra
to that.
view.
I'll
That's an
take-
extra light.
I'll take a cheers to that one. Say less. Sorry for the dead air.
Watch TV. But yeah, no.
So I know we kind of touched on this before, but I kind of want to just go back on that. Are there any photographers specifically that you use as like influence on your work, or just not even necessarily your work,
Give a
just
little shout out to
anything?
Like
Could be famous, could be a friend, could be your mom.
the one that like I said that like I learned a lot from and that I follow like his spam account and his Instagram account. I follow all his videos. His name's Volandez, and he's from Detroit. And basically like his photography is very controversial, I would say. Like to me, it's not like I see it. I'm like, this is sick. And he's like photographing like in like the worst neighborhoods in Detroit with people like guns pointed right at the camera, and I'm like, this is hard.
Oh.
But he was talking about how like he got passed up on deals from Nike and like all these other
Because of
brands
that.
because of it. But I'm like, I think it's sick that he still keeps going, and honestly, like his style is just insane.
I feel like with somebody like that, someone that is gonna be a perfect fit for him will find him. Yeah, he may have missed out on those big opportunities, but he is sticking to his truth. And at the end of the day, like, people may not seem like that's what they want to do, but all of these big brands are literally looking for people that are sticking to their truth and that are, you know, straight and not trying to be like somebody else.
They'll be sorry when he pops off in like a different
100%.
area. And even now, like I see him, he has like hundred thousands more followers, and he's working with people like, I don't know if you know Casey Neistat,
No.
but he's
Never
like this
heard
like,
of him.
I think he's like a tech YouTuber, but he's like huge, and like
Okay.
he's going to Spain and he's going to like all these places, and even he was talking, he's like, I never thought that I would be like going from Detroit to Europe.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's insane for photography, and I'm
Right.
like, that's so true. Even a lot of the photographers that you see photographing celebrities, like frick, what's this guy's name?
Like Theo Sutra. And
Yeah,
stuff
like I'm
that.
blanking, but like part of me, like I was thinking, because I'm getting ready for Dreamville Fest, and I'm like, how are these photographers doing? How are they getting the in with these celebrities?
Putting himself in those situations.
But that's the thing, and then I watch the videos, and I'm like, who are these people too? This dude's a 22-year-old from freaking Minnesota, and I'm like we're in the same, in the same starting position. Like you're just like somebody out of nowhere going on to do these big things, and it's literally just about doing it. So that was kind of what gave me a lot more motivation too. Is I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, and just like having that eye too, right? Like that's probably what the celebrities like, is just that person that has that eye to like capture those right moments, right? So they probably just bring them on and like, hey, just be in the background, take those pictures, and
I think a lot of it is like personality too, though.
yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I think like
Most of his personality.
I think that's why I like want to get more into like talking about myself and like putting myself out there. Is because
Yeah.
like I always say like a shoot with me isn't just a shoot; it's an experience. Like I'm gonna go get you like under like a bridge in like the weirdest position just for the shot, and you're gonna remember that, and you're gonna have fun doing it. So like I think when it comes to celebrities too, they also want somebody who can hang, because nobody wants to be around like the weird dude with the camera that like really can't vibe.
Yeah.
So I think with celebrities too, they want somebody that can do that.
No, for sure, for sure. And that's the thing too, like, yeah, we've been like talking about that a lot too, like more just like getting like behind the scenes, because I feel like that's like such a cool aspect that people don't really get to see, like more personal when you have like the more behind the scenes.
That's what
of, like,
everybody wants to
all,
see.
right?
Helps
Yeah,
you connect.
exactly. Yeah.
Really
People,
just know.
people love the final product, don't get me wrong. But I feel like people love how you got the final product at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Sometimes it's crazy. Like, have you ever seen a really dope shot and then you see the setup and I'm like, this must have taken you hours.
Right,
And
yeah.
you have a lot more respect. And I think that's one thing missing from like photography in general. I think people don't necessarily have as much respect for photographers as they should, because this is hard work.
Yeah.
This is not easy. Like, people don't see you like up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, I've literally woken up at 8 o'clock in the morning and cried because like shit's just not going right.
Yeah.
But people don't see that.
No.
They see the dope picture after, but I'm like, but you didn't see my mental breakdown like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
you didn't see like the lengths I went to even get that perfect picture.
And honestly, that's a huge topic that I'm trying to, or a conversation that I'm trying to start with not just photographers, but like creators in general. It's just like, I feel like we're in such a position where we're not respected by the people because whatever the reason may be, they don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand what we're doing. You know what I mean? So like people are like, oh, you're gonna charge us $100 to take a photo? It's like, well, it's not just that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more to it.
It's the editing. It's the setting up the location,
Like,
the
your
lighting,
makeup looks
everything.
I
Yeah.
gotta fix it, and that's gonna take me an extra 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
people think it takes you like 2 seconds to go edit 100 pictures, and I'm like, it actually takes me
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah.
I
sometimes.
want them to go do it and I'll pay them $100 to go do it and see how they feel, you know?
Sometimes I would love people to just like sit beside me, not to give their input on how I should do things,
Yeah, that's the worst.
but like just to see how tedious it is. Because
Yeah.
it's like you have to be so detailed.
I have a
oriented.
workaround for that. BTS. Put a camera up behind you, put it on a tripod, and show people your shit.
For real though.
There we go.
You don't even need somebody beside you.
Sometimes
TikTok
I just
Live.
think you
TikTok Live. Don't worry, if you ain't got a camera, I got one. That man's getting jobs on podcasts.
Yesterday when I was at this this event, this girl was taking pictures of her friend or whatever, and this girl grabs my speed light and she's like tilting my camera as I'm taking pictures, and I'm like, can you step back? Like, who's working this event, me or you?
Yeah,
Because I can
yeah.
give you the camera and leave.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's like the one thing I hate is like when people tell me what to do, and I'm like, don't tell me what to do unless you've actually had to sit there and do it, because then
Yeah.
you'll understand.
Do you know what one of the biggest things is? So let's say I call you for a job, okay? And you're the photographer. I hired you. I don't know you. I went to your page and I seen your page. I'm like, okay, I love this girl's work. Let me call her to do my wedding photography, like, for example. And then you come up to the spot, and then I'm trying to tell you every single thing of what you should do, or you should change this, you should change that. And I could be wrong, okay? But I just feel like if you're hiring a photographer or a videographer, you're hiring them for their skill set. You're not hiring them to turn into what you want. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense to me.
It's
You
all
just like hit a
trust thing.
spot.
It doesn't make sense to me.
This is like a perfect topic. Like I could literally.
Talk that
like
shit.
that one just
Talk
really,
that shit.
really.
Yeah,
hit
because
me,
I go through that shit on every fucking shoot.
So I kind of have like a workaround for that.
Please
So
tell me. 'Cause
I
I
launched-
need that.
I launched my website, right? And one thing that somebody told me, so they booked me, they wanted to like kind of bargain the price, and I was like, nah. And they were like, okay, fine, whatever. And this guy gave me feedback on my website. He was like, hey, you know what would be really sick if you added a booking link. And I'm like, that's a great idea. I'm gonna do that. But what I noticed was the people that like use my link and they just book the shoot, they don't ask questions, they don't bargain the price.
Yeah.
Those are usually the easiest clients. They have gone to my page, they've gone to my Instagram, they've gone to my portfolio. If they like what they see and they trust me, they pay the deposit, no problem.
Yeah.
I go do the shoot, they're like, I trust you. The people that are in my DMs, I'm like, hey, how much would it cost to do this? That's kind of a lot, or I'll get back to you. Like, the people that are always gonna ask the most questions are the people that have the least respect for your work. So, I've had a couple really bad experiences in the past month with certain clients that like really had me sitting in my room for like days being like, why am I still doing this? Like, should I just give up? And then I realized that I let those people have too much power. Like, I let them bargain, I let them like get more out of me than I should have ever been willing to give. And it like, I kind of realized, I was like, well, the people that don't ask questions have way more respect for me. So like, that's the thing, is you have to like set your boundary and set your limit. And a lot of that is as simple as literally having a booking link and saying, hey, if you want to book with me, you have to go through this link. It takes you through a questionnaire, it takes you through all of my policies.
Yeah.
My price is everything. So nothing is, you don't have to ask any questions. Those are always the people that have the most respect for you.
Well, exactly, because like a lot of those people that you like get the DMs from are just like looking for the best price. They're not really booking you because they like your work or whatever. And then they're going to be the biggest control freaks because they want to get the most out of their money, right? Like that's all they care about is the money. They don't actually care about like the art or anything like that, right? So, and they don't understand like how much work it actually takes to do it, right? So
I even like when I was kind of going through that, I also was like ranting to my friends, and I'm like, when you book a photographer, you do not book a photographer and then tell them how you want the pictures edited. You book them because
it doesn't make sense to me. Sorry to trip out, but like it doesn't make sense.
I'm like, how are you, like, if you see my pictures, they're very colorful, they're very, like, vibrant, like, that's my style, that's what I
and
think.
And if they didn't even know you, that means they seen your work, and that's what your work is. So why are they trying to change it?
If you want minimalist, flat, like, very, like, commercial, basic, like, that's not me.
Yeah.
You can't come to me and tell me you want me to do that, because it's not even that I don't want to, it's like, I can't, like. The thing with, like, photography is, too, is nobody's giving, like, obviously people go to school for it, but nobody's giving you a degree. Like, none of us are formally trained in anything that we do, and I think that's also really amazing, but, like, I think people think that, when people think you're, like, good at something, they're like, oh, then they must be good at all this other stuff, and they can do that. And I'm like, no! A lot of us are really just faking it. Like,
fake it till you
I always say I'm a fake photographer.
Yeah.
And people laugh, they're like, why do you say that? And I'm like, because realistically, if you, like, hand me, like, at work we have some really cool equipment. Somebody handed me like this really elaborate Canon, and I'm like, I have no idea.
What is that?
Like, and that's what I say.
Everything.
But if you're a real photographer that's formally trained, like you can have a camera, any camera in your hands, and you're good. But that's why I say I'm a fake photographer. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're trained on that one piece of equipment that you have.
Exactly.
Right?
I don't know what I'm doing. When I'm editing,
I'm YouTube trained, so.
I'm just moving the sliders around. I'm
And
like,
what looks good to your eye? I won't even lie to you. I edit the exact same way. Like I after a while, I started to learn, how to read graphs and whatnot.
It's like
but starting, I literally would go to the sliders and I would just play around, and whatever looks good to my eye, that's what I put out.
And that's the thing. People don't realize it's like backwards learning, and like nobody knows what they're doing, but like you're figuring it out. And I think that's art. It's not about what's right. Like there's no blueprint for photography, and that's why I kind of laugh at like almost like editing and photography courses, because I'm like, they're just teaching you how to edit for a desired effect, but there's no right and wrong way to edit. Art is so subjective.
Yeah. It's like trial and error too, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright, so let's jump into our next segment.
Yes. We got a new one. We got a new segment.
It's not overrated, underrated this time. This time we got this or that. This or that. This or that. This or that. Hey. Alright, let's jump right into it. Board games or video games?
Board games.
Ooh, that was
quick. Okay.
Video games. I don't have the attention span.
Canon or Sony?
Before you answer, you better not fuck this one up.
Okay.
You have two options, that's it.
I can't like.
Okay, let me help you.
But listen.
Photography.
Okay.
Canon or Sony?
Here's the thing. I shot with a A7 III, and my life was forever changed. So like that's ultimately the camera I want to upgrade to for photography and videography, just because I have nothing bad to say about it. But right now I'll choose Canon because like I'm
that's what we rocking with.
That's a Sony.
Isn't that what she said?
Yeah.
Now I think I'm drunk over it.
No, I like Sony. The only issues that I have, lenses are gonna literally have you eating ramen noodles for the next 3 months.
Yeah, true. But that goes with any camera.
That's part of the sacrifice. For those angles.
But Sony for sure.
Sony, I like it. Alright, on to the next. Social media DM or text messaging?
For what purpose?
For the G rated. Don't worry, your parents won't see this.
Oh my, yeah, they will.
Why do you make it weird?
I would say text, because if somebody can have a conversation via text, that means I know that you can actually like.
You've already got the digits. You're already in there already.
Yeah.
So,
versus DM, like. I don't want to like expose myself right now, but like.
Don't worry, I'll expose for you. DM is for a quick thing.
Not even. Some of the things that guys have said in my DMs, I'm like, are you okay? So like mentally, are you okay? And then like. It's so repetitive, so I think if you can like text me and have like a real conversation, that's.
Yeah, but also if you're texting, you've already gave the number out, so it's probably somebody you know.
I hope I've already given the number out.
I guess there's those sneaky ones that.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Okay. Family vacation or friend vacation? Your mom's watching this.
Well, I'm Caribbean, so like a family vacation is really no different from a friend vacation. I'm getting it at the same level of drunk.
Ain't that for sure? But that don't answer the question.
I would say family vacation.
Dope. All right. Apple or Android?
Apple.
That was
What a
quick.
stupid question.
That was a simple one.
Staying in or going out?
I can't say both, but like,
Nope.
I like to have a good time.
Moderation.
So going out.
I'll say going
We
out.
outside.
I can't lie.
Alright. Sight or sound?
Sight, because I'm a photographer.
Okay.
Proper. Love or money?
Ooh.
What do you do if you love money?
That means you choose money. That means you choose
That's
money.
money.
But we gotta hear the answer.
Like, if I would choose between love or money?
Yes.
Isn't the saying, first you marry for money and then you marry for love? But I'm a hopeless romantic, and so
Final
love
answer
always
is
has me in the chokehold, so I would
Cap.
love. See, but here's my thing. Here's my thing, though. It's like,
Alright,
I
on to the
plan on being the millionaire, so like honestly, it doesn't matter how much any dude makes. I'm always gonna make more.
Hey,
say
say less. Preach it to the choir, girl.
boss bitch.
I like
Let's
that.
go.
Alright. Underestimated or overestimated?
Underestimated.
That was a pretty easy one.
Prove 'em.
Prove 'em.
I
Alright.
love when people underestimate me.
It's kind of like a same question here, but a little bit different. Poor and happy or rich and miserable?
I'll say poor and happy.
Poor and happy?
Damn, I cannot say the same.
As long as you're doing what
Those
you
money
love.
problems hit different.
But like, if I'm gonna cry either way, I'd rather cry in like a G-Wagon, you know?
Yeah.
Or like on a beach.
What is Gucci?
So that means you're choosing rich and miserable then. Shit. You gotta switch up your answer.
Not okay.
You know, the behind the scenes is going off right now. Everybody's going crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think they're feeling that answer.
I like this game a lot. I like this game.
Yo, I'd rather cry in a G-Wagon than be happy in a fucking Civic, huh? Say less, yo. Say less. I am not pulling up to nobody in my Civic, yo. Cause I ain't picking up nobody with that.
Like I said, money problems, it's a different kind of problem.
You know, at the end of the day, yo, if you're rich and miserable, I'm gonna take that. You
I
know?
think either way, you're gonna be miserable in some ways. So you just
Yeah,
have to
so
decide
I
how
may
you
as
wanna be
well
miserable.
take the rich with it.
Well, that concludes that game.
That concludes that game. You guys don't want to hear what we have else, so we'll save that for another day.
Yeah,
Y'all trying to
exactly.
get me in trouble.
We're about to get ourselves in trouble, and then we're not even answering the questions.
Oh my
All right. Tell us a little about like what else you have going on. Any new projects? Anything we need to be out looking for?
Well, hopefully the Mckenna show will be launched by the time this drops.
Okay,
so
okay.
that's something that you can look forward to. I don't really know what it's gonna be yet. All I know is the name,
Yeah.
and it's obviously gonna be about me because why
We're
not?
Mckenna show.
Obviously.
We're obviously gonna be the first guest too. So.
100%.
And we're not even asking, we're telling you.
100%.
Yeah.
I won't even say shit. Y'all can come on the show anytime.
Oh, we're about to murder that one, yo.
It actually scares me because, like I was saying, it might be like that segment where y'all can put me on the spot, which
Yeah.
I hate, and I don't know if I trust you two to do that.
Oh,
but
I'm already prepared for this, yo. I got like 2 questions already in my head.
Just give me a week and I'll have some good.
Because, yo, we have to get all the juice out, right?
Yeah.
What's the point of just asking some basic ass questions?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
guess that's the point
We
of the
gotta,
show.
exactly. We gotta feed
Shot
the
clock.
audience, right?
Mhm.
How else you gotta feed them, right?
100%.
Straight up, straight
So,
up.
Yeah,
It's
just
awesome.
like that, traveling, more photography, more sick pictures on the way. So,
All right. Well, give a little shout out to your socials there. Where can people find you?
well, make sure you follow me on my personal account, which is It's Mckenna Layne, and then my photography account, Kenna Snapped, as well as my YouTube, also Kenna Snapped. So,
Hey, she snaps.
Dope. She
We'll have
snaps.
those. We'll have
Can I
those down
snap? What can I
down there
say?
somewhere. Probably.
Yes, it'll be in the bio at
In the
least.
bio, yeah.
And then make sure you guys follow Podtiez on all social media accounts. And we do have our first episode out on YouTube now. And we are on Spotify and Apple Music as well. And yeah, you check out my social media at JB Visuals.
And make sure you go like, subscribe, and comment to all those. YouTube, TikTok, everything. Or else you're a hater. And you can follow my personal account at Sweeter Side Scott. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
And
that's
Podtiez.
concludes this. Yeah, Podtiez.
And we out.
And we out of this bitch.